AI is driving massive economic shifts. Over 500 billion in capital expenditure is projected for 2026. 500 billion, get your head around that big number. Well, hi everyone, Lisa Tamati here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today we're diving into the wild world of AI and its massive impact on the economy, the financial markets, and on jobs. We're also breaking down the insights of one of my absolutely favorite gurus on this topic, a macro analyst, Jordi Visser, who I've been following for a long time. I've recently had him on my show, so I'll drop the link down below to that episode that I did with him. He is a Wall Street veteran of 30 years, and he is known as the world's greatest macro analyst for AI. He's absolutely the bomb. He's every week on Anthony Pompliano's show. If you know Anthony Pompliano, you'll know how good he is. And he's a real expert when it comes to macro analysis and what the markets are doing and the financial implications. And he's been dropping some real truth bombs on X, is at Visser Labs, so make sure you go and check that out. And on his Substack at visserlabs.substack.com. I'll put those links down below too. But I'll share some real world experiences and my comments as well about using AI in my own work and show you how this tech is really reshaping everything. So this is going to be like a 10 to 15 minute sort of fun packed ride with insights. So if you like this kind of content, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so that you don't miss a thing. So let's get started. So AI, is it hype or a game changer? Now AI is everywhere. Some even call it a talking parrot, that it does nothing more than just sort of regurgitate stuff. But that is so far from the truth. But that's like calling the internet a fancy typewriter. And Jordi Visser calls it the next wave of innovation, following the PC, the internet, and the smartphones. And we all know how massive an impact they have had on our lives. Well, that's nothing compared to AI, in his opinion, and also in my opinion as well. In his recent Milk Road Macro interview, which was a really great show, he said, if you're betting against AI, you're betting against innovation. And he's not wrong. AI is driving massive economic shifts. Over 500 billion in capital expenditure is projected for 2026. 500 billion, get your head around that big number. Powering data centers, semiconductors, cooling systems, and energy infrastructure. And this is just tech. It's just rewriting the economy. You know, I've been studying the AI world and how it's going to impact my business. And this is why I really wanted to share with you today, is to thinking, you know, what are the experts like Jordi Visser saying, but also then how is it going to impact you, maybe your children, maybe your business? And, you know, I've been trying to incorporate AI into my daily life and learning how to use it. And it's really... the thing I think we need to know about is, you know, we've heard that jobs are going to be going, a lot of white collar jobs, which I'll get into a little bit later, but it's not just going to be disappearing. It's going to be disappearing to the people who know how to use AI. So if you fade AI, if you think, oh, I don't really want to know about it, I'm going to put my head in the sand, then you are really missing out on an opportunity to protect your future financially. So where's the money going? Shares, crypto, and AI. So where is all this AI money flowing, and what does it mean for the markets? Well, stocks like Nvidia, Micron, Tesla, they're all riding the AI wave. And this has been really bullish on semiconductors, pointing to companies like AMSL and Western Digital for their role in high bandwidth memory and compute power. And on X, Jordi has been talking recently about Micron's earnings, about highlighting how AI-driven demand for memory chips is absolutely skyrocketing. He's also big on Tesla's robotaxi, and I've done a lot of research into Tesla. I had recently the brilliant macro analyst, financial analyst, Cern Basher to guest on my show, and he broke down the whole future of where he sees Tesla is going. And Jordi has a similar view to that. It's absolutely mind-blowing when you start looking at things like robotaxi, robo trucks, the mega packs, the vertical integration and the AI through XAI and through AI itself in the robotaxis, etc., the humanoids, the Optimus robots that is coming a bit further down the track. All of these are huge visions, and they could really redefine valuations. Especially if Elon Musk managed to nail full self-tech driving, that could be really, really big, and that's looking like it's happening. He's got FSD, what is it, 14 or something coming out very shortly. Robotaxis are now expanding from their original place in Texas, and now they're going further afield. So we'll see, what happens in the very near future, whether they can really get this to full self-driving without anybody in the car. But if they do nail that, and that gets adopted worldwide, it will be really massive and revolutionary. So watch out for that. And then there's crypto. So Visser calls Bitcoin the purest AI investment play. Why? And I, struggled to get my head around how is Bitcoin related to AI, but it's the only thing that really has a moat around it that's going to be protected in this AI world. So that's one thing. So every other company is up for disruption. Nobody has got a moat around it. All the LLMs, the ChatGPTs, the Perplexities, the Claudes, all of these, are it's a race to AGI at the moment, and it's a race, and every week someone is ahead and someone else is behind, and this means that there's no real moat. But also in other industries that are being disrupted, recently we've seen Salesforce get really disrupted, and we know that there's a sort of an avalanche coming of disruptions. And Jordi sort of talks about the future of the S&P 500, a lot of those companies being on the chopping block, and that they may not survive the next 5 years, and then it's going to be really, really big. So AI is disrupting fiat systems, and Bitcoin's decentralized, non-leveraged nature makes it a really good hedge against a world where AI redefines value. And in his Substack post titled The AI Endgame, he argues that as AI replicates everything from real estate to labor, assets like Bitcoin and gold hold a really unique moat because they're rooted in belief and not replication. They can't be just printed into oblivion. We can't increase the gold supply that fast. So that's always been a good thing outside of the system. But Bitcoin is, of course, the digital gold, has a lot more advantages over the old forms of gold, and it can't be replicated. It's fixed at that 21 million. So the market agrees. Bitcoin's been climbing as AI hype grows. So I've been into the Bitcoin world now for about 5 years myself, learning as much about it as I can. I'm certainly no guru in this space, but really doing as deep a dive as I can. And the more I study and try to understand Bitcoin, the more I am absolutely convinced that it's pivotal to the future of humanity. It's not just about, for me, it's not just an investment. It's something that really could save us because we're living in a world of debt. Tomorrow morning, actually, on my YouTube channel, I'm going to be interviewing the amazing Jeff Booth. So watch out for that interview to be coming out just after this one comes out. And Jeff Booth is one of the leading OGs in the Bitcoin space. He's been around that space for forever and a day. He's the author of The Price of Tomorrow, a really powerful, awesome book that I highly recommend that you get into and read to understand what is actually happening to our world. We can all feel the changes that are happening, and we don't really know what's going on. But, as the debts get out of control, that the government start to lose control of the debt, then things are going to start spiraling out of control. They continue to keep printing. This continues to keep devaluing the currencies, the fiat currencies, and so on and so forth. And that's a deep dive for another day. But watch out for that interview with Jeff Booth, because he is absolutely amazing at breaking it down and helping you understand the free nature, the free market structure that Bitcoin allows for the first time in humanity's history, really, that we could possibly have a free market in the future. We're not living in a free market as we think we are now. We're living in centrally controlled systems that have sort of got varying degrees of control to them. And as things ramp up in the next few years and the debt gets out of control and they keep printing and sort of kicking the can down the road, there's going to be some big shocks happening in the system. So it's really important that we study this space together and really try to get our heads around what's happening. Coming back to AI, the labor shock and AI's impact on jobs. Now, it's really the elephant in the room. Jobs, AI is causing a labor earthquake. The Bureau of Labor Statistics in the US revised data showing nearly 1 million fewer jobs created last year than thought. Companies like Zoom and Bosch and even recently Fiverr, I see, are slashing their workforces with 166,000 tech jobs lost globally in 2025 alone till now. And Visser really warns of a tough transition period, especially for white-collar workers. And in his Substack, he writes, the pace of AI disruption is brutal. Humans hate change, and this is change on steroids, but he's not all doom and gloom about it. He believes that new jobs will emerge, but they will emerge for the people that understand how to use AI, and that the jobs will be created in the human connection space. So think of storytelling or creative roles that will still stay vital, where humans really have a pivotal role connecting with each other. You're not going to replace your yoga teacher taking you on a retreat or someone guiding you up a mountain, or these things where it's about community or where it's about human-to-human contact. That's still going to be really important, and those are the areas that may have a good future, as well as those people that embrace AI, start learning about it, start adopting it into their daily living, trying to understand the changes that are happening. A lot of the big institutions are going to really struggle here because there's inertia in these big corporations to change. There's resistance within the employee structure. There's resistance in things like trade unions to having things changed on them. So there's going to be a lot of discontent and a lot of change happening and resistance to change. And that means that for the smaller companies, the startup companies, they may be able to act and move faster than some of the big incumbents in this space. So it's really going to be an interesting time where we're probably going to see a lot of emerging companies come up really fast and then disappear maybe just as fast, and then new ones keep coming. And there's going to be a lot of change in this world in the coming years ahead. I wanted to talk a little bit, like I've been trying with my business. So I run obviously this YouTube channel and a podcast, but I also do health consultant. I'm a longevity expert. I have a hyperbaric oxygen clinic, and I run a biotech company as well. And I've been trying to bring AI agents into my workforce to decrease the number of people that I have to have as consultants or working for me, and using agents. And what I'm finding, on the ground, on the front lines of it, trying to, as a non-tech person who doesn't really get, doesn't find this easy, I've been working with tools like N8N and the chat GBTs of the world, and all of the LLMs actually, and trying to make agents that will do certain tasks and automate things. I've also been developing apps using vibe coding, really struggling and realizing that sometimes the tech is not as good as what is described. And certainly for someone who has no tech background, Jordi often talks about, you can develop an app and get it hooked up to Stripe really quickly and be selling it tomorrow. Well, in practice, I've found that not quite to be the case. I've been developing an immune age calculator. I've spent hundreds of hours trying to perfect the app, and then realizing that I still needed a software developer to actually take it to the next level to stabilize the app. I've found working with agents, like working with things like N8N, that creates automated tasks for agents to do. It constantly breaks. There's constant updates that need to be done. There's sort of technical challenges. So, there's, I think, some of the promise of this stuff is absolutely amazing, and a lot of the technology is still a bit glitchy, still a bit cumbersome to work around, especially when you're not a technical person yourself. I'm sure if you were a coder or someone, you'd take to this like a fish out of water, and this would just make it a lot faster for you. The coding, of course, is all done for you and so on. But when you actually get down to it, that code is often not correct, and you often need a software developer anyway to help you take it to the next level, create a stable app, etc., etc. So it's interesting at this phase, I'd say, to be working with some of these tools, but it's also quite challenging. And as someone who's split, and most of us are, we're actually trying to run our companies, we're trying to look after our families, we're trying to do all of these things while trying to learn all of this tech as well. I think for someone who doesn't have 12 hours a day to be spending on AI, learning all of this stuff, it can be pretty tough, but we have to embrace it and we have to try to go forward with it, because if we don't, we will be left behind by those who can do that. The next thing I wanted to talk about is creative destruction and the AI graveyard. Now, this is really big on creative destruction, which is a term from the economist Joseph Schumpeter. And it's the idea that innovation kills old industries but births new ones. And in one of his recent interviews, he predicted that the 2030s will be a graveyard for public companies. Why? It's because AI's efficiency is cannibalizing traditional models. The Mag 7, think Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, are spending billions on AI. A lot of that will be spent in the wrong places, probably. There will be, they know how important this race is, therefore they're spending the money. They don't quite know whether they're spending it in the right place, and I'm sure billions will be spent in the wrong place and not bring them anything, and it will, it remains to be seen who will win the races out of all of this. But Visser says that most will lose this race and only one or two might dominate, leaving the others in the dust. And in his ex-post, he echoes this warning that the companies not adapting to AI will become obsolete. Think of, Kodak in the digital camera era, where they would not change from their traditional structure of films to realizing that the technology was going ahead, and where's Kodak today? Nowhere to be seen. And there's a lot of those examples over time. So that's really creative destruction. The technology moves on. Sometimes these bigger players have a struggle to move with it and to change. If you think about it, they have existing really good going revenues, everything's fine. It takes a big jump to destroy your own revenue by adapting to something new and taking something new on. And it's risky and it's new and it's hard to move the whole workforce and to redesign your whole structure. So a lot of these companies just won't make the leap. But the agile, small companies, the startups, the young kids that have got chips in their head, so to speak, who really get the space, can move faster, can attract investment and get themselves going a lot quicker. And we're seeing a lot of that. One of my favorite podcasts is the Moonshots podcast with Peter Diamandis and his crew, David Blunden, and so Ismail Salim, and they are really at the cutting edge of AI. So if you're wanting to keep up on the weekly of what's going, I really encourage you to check out their podcast as well. And it's going to be tough in the next few years, but as usual, putting your head in the sand is not going to make it go away, and we need to embrace it. If you have children, getting them to learn to use AI on the daily, understanding how it works, trying to keep up with the changes as they come out, and the incredible things that it can do. I mean, I've found in my health consultancy business, it just augments my abilities 100x. I can do more. I'm faster. I can implement more complex things because I can use the AI as an extension of my own brain. I don't have to keep it all in there all the time, and it can see sometimes patterns and things that I could not see. So it's very, very powerful. And a lot of the industries are going to fight back. Let's just give you an example, like radiologists. So they're going to become obsolete in the future because the AI, we know, is more accurate at reading MRIs and CTs and these scans than the doctors are currently. And it takes 15 to 20 years to become a good radiologist and be able to read what's on those scans. And now we have tools that are actually more accurate. Like, that's how powerful this change is that's coming, which is, fabulous. It means that you can take a bit more control as the consumer. You can do a lot more research. You can use this to help yourself as well. But it is going to mean lots of change in a lot of industries. Despite the disruption, however, Visser's really optimistic about the opportunities, and he encourages using AI to become an entrepreneur who can sort of move and be adaptable and change and use these tools and these opportunities to really go forwards. He did say within hours you can create an app and connect it to Stripe and start making money. And he's right. I've found it to be harder than that. And I could not do it in hours, and I've spent hundreds of hours on my app and it's still not quite there. But maybe that's a complicated one, and other ones will be easier, and you might find other ideas that are a little bit simpler than the one that I'm trying to initiate and get going. But it really is powerful for idea generation, for implementation, for coding. Some of the ones are really, really good at coding now that can help you at least get started, get out of the date. What I've really found it powerful for is at least getting it to the demo level, where I can show it to investors and I can show them the potential of what's needed. And then I've needed, developers to step in and actually make it work for the massive, numbers that we need to put through this app, for example. And his Substack details how he feeds new info into AI tools like ChatGPT to uncover, in his case, investment opportunities across sectors, and that how game changer it is. And he gives some examples in some of his weekly videos of just how he's using it to do research like that, and how powerful it is. He's created personal GPTs that do certain research analyst tasks. And they can feed different, earnings reports and different things into it, and really takes us through in a couple of his videos ways to think about it. And you might be in a different industry and you might need different help with different things, but it's really getting that thought process of how you could be using it. He also talks about the energy crunch and geopolitics. So AI is not just eating jobs, it's devouring energy massively. Like the need for energy and compute is huge. One of his Substacks highlights AI's exponential demand for compute and power, and how it's outpacing supply. So in the US, the grid's really struggling, with hyperscalers like Google reporting that token needs up to 90x in a year have increased, up to 90 times the amount just in this year. China is really ahead on nuclear and clean energy, but both nations face real bottlenecks in transformers and gas turbines. And so geopolitically, the US-China AI race is very tense. And on Visser's posts, he notes that China's edge in the rare earths and in drones, but they have real advantages. 90% of the world's rare earths are processed in China, so they really have a bottleneck. And rare earths are used in all of our devices, gadgets, the robots that are coming. They're going to all need it. The chips we need these rare earths. So China has a bit of a stranglehold at the moment. I know the US is trying to work on ways around that, but that's maybe a limiting factor in the future as to how much compute we're going to be able to use. The technology may be going ahead, but there's already limits on ChatGPT as to how much you can use, because they keep running into these bottlenecks and of being able to generate the compute that's required. And Visser hopes that in 2025's APEC summit, that President Trump and Xi from China will be able to come to some sort of an agreement, or at least the beginning of an agreement, predicting that could be a really good step forward to ease tensions and get things on track, because both countries really need each other, and that could really boost the markets. So that's coming up soon. So just to wrap up, embrace the AI revolution. The takeaway really is about AI is reshaping economies, markets, and jobs right throughout the stack. Shares in compute and power are really hot at the moment as far as investments are going. Bitcoin is a brilliant hedge and job losses are very real. But there's also opportunity in the disruption. And Jordi's work on X and Substack really shows, and on YouTube and his channel, shows us how to navigate this with AI tools, turning fear into action. And my own experiences building apps, consulting, wrestling with things like N8N prove that anyone can jump in, because believe me, I'm not technical. This is really not my thing, but I know that I have to embrace it or go down. So don't fade AI, embrace it. And thanks very much for watching today. I really appreciated it. If you would like it, do it, like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. If you want more comment, please drop some comments down below too. If you want to ask me anything, I'm going to be doing more content around crypto, AI, Bitcoin, technology, exponential tech, all of that sort of stuff coming out, because it's really important for our future. I've been focused very much on longevity and health, and I certainly will continue to do that as well. And it's part of that same story, because the breakthroughs in the health and longevity sector are also massive, that are coming from AI. So it's really, really exciting. But make sure you check out Jordi Visser at Visser Labs on X and visserlabs.substack.com on Substack, and you can find him on YouTube as well. And drop some comments down below, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, guys.